Welcome, welcome back, everybody. It's March 5th, and on the Aligning with Success call last week, we ended on covering some of the fundamentals of attracting leaders into our business, attracting people who want to see this or want to do this as a business because they've been presented with a certain context, a flow of information. We didn't get into the details of that. We've done that in previous calls, but I was asking you all to recall what are the key attributes of somebody who's a leader, particularly in the way that they behave. I'm talking about actionable items, things that are measurable, quantifiable, and we got into the idea that there are three basic things that we're looking for in the way of an investment. We're looking for an investment of time, which is the time that it's going to take for them to contact and invite people, follow up, bring people into the information process, the process, if you will, in a calculated way, in something that's a little bit more condensed, especially if we're going into a launch with the expectation of achieving any and all of the qualifications for our incentive program. So I refer to this as focus time. Focus time for their launch, because it's not a generality. In focus time, there's an intention. There is a sense of urgency. I think this is really, really important to understand that there is a sense of urgency that's created when somebody goes into launch mode, as opposed to getting started. Getting started, ramping up, getting acquainted, getting familiar. These are all the things that people have a tendency to do on their own, if left to themselves. They take their time becoming familiar, learning, and what you find then is it's a very slow pace getting somebody going and hitting any of the objectives of the incentive program. It's all about creating some degree of momentum, and that is only created if there's a sense of urgency. So I refer to focus time in terms of their investment of time, different than just simply time. We'll get back to this, maybe not on this call, maybe on the next call, but let's stay with time. Money. We talked about there would be some demonstrable event that takes place where their investment is concerned, a measurable event, where we would see an investment in products, maybe something that, I'm getting some feedback. I'm not sure if you're all hearing that, so I think it's coming from, got it. Okay, so time, money, contacts. Money, the investment in the products. I'm going to ask you guys again, this call, before we get into the next section, I'm just going to take 5 minutes and I want to get some of your feedback as to what you're doing when you have somebody say, I want to do this as a business. How are you what are the recommendations you're making for getting them started with respect to an investment in the products? We'll come back to this. And then the third component is contacts. And of course, for contacts, we have our $1 million list. And how many of you got people starting a list, but they haven't completed the whole list? Again, it's like, okay, so we want to make a cake, but we don't want to add all the flour that we need. We don't want to add all the sugar that's necessary. We want to see if we can eliminate the cream from the cream pie. It's like, how are you supposed to create the outcome if you start short-circuiting the ingredients? We haven't even started the baking process yet. So you can see where this leads to a problem for duplication. Duplication is based on following some type of a protocol that's doable that everybody does. And so we need to identify what that protocol is if we're going to have any kind of duplication at all. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be something that can be repeated by others to some degree. So context, time, money, and context. Again, we can get into more depth on that, especially when we come to the part that I really want to get into, which is why would anyone object to these things? So just for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to open this up. Please add your comments on when somebody says, okay, let's do this. I want to do this as a business. What are you suggesting they do when it comes to an investment in their products? So anyone, please go ahead. If you've got a formula that you're following, if you've got a document that you're using, what are you presenting to answer that question? Anyone?
Ruth?
Go ahead, Ruth.
I ask, well, how fast or how slow do you want to go?
Good
Because
question.
that depends, if they want to go slow, then you can start slow, insoles, water. I mean, water is key. I like to touch upon all the products, so all categories. So if it's insoles, a waterfall, nutritional, maybe a pillow, depends. But if they want to go fast, then I'm like, you need to do it all. You need to have all of it so you can show it. And remember, whatever you choose, whether it's slow or fast, that's what your people are going to follow. And that's what they're going to do. So I just bring that on the table for them. So it just depends on what the answer is.
So
cool. Good.
The other question is, how big of a business do you want? What are your goals? What kind of an income goal? How much time do you have to put into it? And if you have a big goal, you need to have a wellness home, auto ship, products to demonstrate with and be able to put events on, some to sell. And so if that's what they really want, when they see my house, they'll say, well, do you have to get all of this? Well, I have, all the versions over all the years. And so it's an accumulation, but it's made a difference in my health. And so then I'll compare it to the cost of a cruise or, if I know, knowing them or having been to their house, that's what I relate it to, the cost benefit analysis of your health and an investment. It's our product. So that would go along with how fast do they want to go or how big of a business do they want. So if they want to be a retailer, then that's a different model, or a small franchise unit, I guess, or a retailer. That's a different model.
Okay, great. Excellent. Anyone else? Any specific items that you're making as a floor recommendation?
Sleep,
sort of a baseline?
auto ship.
Pardon me?
Sleep, auto, and sleep, water, and auto ship. I think they're basic. It's the systemic. And if you need to start smaller, and then really retail to get your income coming in or whatever, I mean, again, if it's a commitment to a business, then put it on a card and get your return on your investment, go to work, show the incentives and so forth. So, but if somebody truly that, kids are in school and whatever else, then I have like sports bottle, J. Green Zymes, neckband, insoles, seat cushion. You can sleep on it at night. A gathering of starting auto ship, meaning that each month they can change the auto ship and add something to the that they have as demonstration and some small items to be able, the mag duo and so forth, so that you can get out and see people and show the products and begin retail customers to be able to get a business if that's where they are.
Okay. Anyone else? Susan, go ahead, Yoko.
We used to have the wellness home pack. Okay. So normally what I'll just say is, where would you like to start your wellness home? And I started off with water and sleep. Those are so impactful. So, I mean, you kind of like try to guide them just generally at the beginning, but that's what was so great about having the packs, which we don't have, but you could create your own jargon to that.
Well, exactly, because it's not necessary that we have the packs formally from Nikken. In fact, I remember when Nikken didn't have packs, I still created my good, better, best scenario. So I created my own version of that, whether I was launching my business in Canada or in Mexico or whatever. I always have my good, better, best. So I suggest a good, better, best scenario that you can make as a recommendation. So give some thought to that. Create your own version of that. Please feel free to share that with me. I'll share that with the group if you've got one of what I call the good, better, best scenario. Anyone else? Suzanne, you had your hand up.
Just last night, I was sharing this information with someone on the phone with us or on Zoom with us, and I brought up Rick's starting team document because it does have a good visual of the different categories of water, of sleep, and other products, other energy-based products. Then it has pictures of the nutritionals to talk about AutoShip, and then it covers the demonstration and other products that, to give you ideas. Yes.
I think this is the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
And
it starts the
this
conversation.
is downloadable from where?
Pathfinders.biz under the business.
Yeah.
Click on the business at the top, and that is one of the things that you can
Okay.
grab.
Good. So, anyone else before we?
Yeah, Mike, it's Randy. I really like the cocoon, and I love everything people have said. I'd like to get something in each category in their hands, but I also want to. What I do is find out what they would be most impressed with. Where's their story, their product story going to start? You know, if they've got a bad knee, or they're not sleeping, or they hate the water they're drinking. I had somebody just yesterday. She took my power band right off my neck. So because she said her shoulders were just so tight. So I think that in addition to everything else that everybody said, just where are they going to have their first story to just say, you got to do this business because I feel different.
Okay. Let me just paraphrase then. I'm thinking what you're thinking is maximum impact. What
Right.
combination of products is going to provide maximum impact? And that's twofold. That's on a personal level and on a business level. If we just looked at it purely business, then the maximum impact is going to be the products that give the most bang for your buck in terms of what are they most likely to sell, what they most likely have invested in, what they most likely are using, what they most likely have some kind of an affinity for. So maximum impact from a business standpoint, from a return on investment, is going to be the high ticket items. But maximum impact on a personal level, which is going to give them the emotional charge, which is just as valuable, is going to come from a personal experience that could be a little bit more particular given their circumstance, which is what Randy's pointing out. So I think if we go under the understanding that maximum impact, personal and business, is what we're after in terms of an initial investment, and there could be a good, better, best. Obviously, the best case scenario is they have access to all the products, they're using all the products, but that's not necessarily practical for all people getting started in the business. It's certainly something that we want to direct them toward. It's certainly something that they have as a goal. We call it the wellness home. And it's an ongoing thing. It's never a one-time thing. I want to just recircle back then on this. We've taken our 5 minutes. So the thing was to relate the investment to the business. If this is a business and they're looking at it as a business, then we've got to relate the investment to the business. How fast? How slow? Return on investment. How big a business do you want? When we connect that this is about a relationship between the results, the outcome of their business, then they'll have a better perspective. What you put in, you get out. The more you put in, the more you're going to get out. If they have that understanding, and don't assume they do, because a lot of people in this world especially want something for nothing. There's a condition out there where it's something for nothing. What are you going to do for me? Well, you're not doing me any favor by joining the business. Trust me. You're going to cost me time and energy and money and a lot of emotions because I'm going to be babysitting you for the next 3 to 5 years while you cut your teeth on this industry. So unless you really are serious about it, don't waste my time. Thank you very much. Now, would I say that? Probably not. But do I actually think and feel that at times? Oh, yeah. You bet I do. Because I take it seriously. I take sponsoring, the role of being a sponsor, serious. And so I don't want to just play at it. I don't want to just throw enough mud against the wall and see what sticks. That's just not my strategy. My strategy is to focus, be clear on my intentions, to attract people who are understanding those intentions and are prepared to make a commitment, a committed decision, and then I'm going to test that commitment level. So, yeah, please save me some time and energy and effort. And it's like, the psychology of all that. If you're not serious, tell me now. And so, one of the things that I think we have a hard time with is, especially because we've become such crusaders of NICAN, is we've lost the sense of objectivity. And for many of you, you've been in the business around a while, but for those of you who are brand new watching this, either on the playback or on the call, you're not there yet. So I want to maintain a certain level of objectivity. If you're coming to this business to make money, then just please understand there is a relationship with what you put in and what you get out. I don't think you could go anywhere on this planet in any type of business of any kind, or job for that matter, and expect more coming out than what you put in. It's just not how it works. So in this business, the difference is we do have the added advantage of compound and leverage. So if you want to seriously compound and leverage, ask yourself, what do you want to compound and leverage? A penny, a dime, or a dollar? Because you're going to compound and leverage a penny, a dime, or a dollar. And it's up to you to decide what that's going to be. So that's our job, I think, as a sponsor, is to be upfront and honest with them about the idea, the notion of compounding. Now, last week we sort of ended on the note of these 3 investments, and I said we were going to come back to the idea of why would somebody object to this? What did we miss in the information process if they don't see the reason to invest? If they don't see the reason to invest their time, if they don't see the reason to invest their money, or if they don't see the reason to invest their contact list, what have we fallen short of? Because the objections are going to be maybe 1 of 5. There's not many more than that in this business. They may be masquerading in a different form, but at the end of the day, there's only a handful, really, of any kind of objections. So what are the kind of objections do we get? Anyone? Let me give you the first and most obvious. Don't have the time, right?
No time.
Don't have the money.
Okay. Don't have the time, don't have the money, and I don't know, I don't have the contacts.
Oh, I don't
A salesperson.
I'm not a salesperson. Okay, that's a good one too. I'm not a salesperson. No, it's 4. There's probably one more.
Network marketing.
Network marketing. Okay, those are the 5. I don't think there's a 6th or a 7th. I think every other one comes down to these 5. So I don't have the time, I don't have the money, don't know the people, not a salesperson, and I have an issue with network marketing. So those are essentially the 5 reasons why somebody would say no. Now let's start with the network marketing one, since I think that's probably the one that's the smoke screen for what's really going on. Let me ask you something. How many people do you know would, if they had a chance, trade their life, their quality of life, their life, for the life and lifestyle of a successful Nikan Royal Diamond? How many of them would if they could see what it meant and live the way we live, then how many of them would gladly say, yeah, if I had this to do over again, I would give this a real effort? Probably most. So it's not a question of network marketing. It's just their perception around it, not what it really is. So how do we deal with perception issue of network marketing? Anyone? Any suggestions?
ABC.
Yeah, okay. So definitely leverage. An ABC call is one way.
Ask them what their experience was, if they've had one.
Very good. Now, one of the big things that we can deal with where this is concerned is social proof. Social proof is a huge factor in overcoming the objection of network marketing, which means, yeah, there are other lunatics like me who don't think network marketing is an issue. Let me introduce you to them. So as long as there's some social proof out there, then maybe we're in the minority, but then again, we would be in the minority if we were happy, healthy, and wealthy. So do we want to be in the minority or do we want to be in the majority? So if you're paying more attention to your reputation or what other people think of you, you will never in a gazillion years ever amount to anything is where success is concerned. Because you will be always the average of the people you hang around with. And that's a fact. So that's a hard fact, and I don't mind telling people or reminding people of that fact. Now, that might be sort of a crude and crass way of doing it. I don't know what your approach is, but I'm kind of direct to the point these days. And so I like telling people, well, you keep thinking with the mind that you're thinking with, you'll keep getting the results that you're getting. And we've already established that that's not good enough. So you got a bit of a dilemma on your hands.
I think that's part of the pre-qualifying questions that I'm getting better at, Mike. It's just like, who doesn't want to invest? Then they're very comfortable with where they are. It kind of helps to pre-qualify where they are. And one of the things I've been saying, I haven't had the Royal Diamond salary, but the time and well, my family and friends, I don't want to chase them away. I've one now, all my 5 friends that I've talked to, they're not talking to me now. Well, they're not the right friends to have. So if you want a new set of friends, and what I've said is my organization doesn't have my old family or my old friends, they don't want to be in it. So good for them. Too bad for them. So my new family and friends, and I tell them about my new family and friends, this family that I have, that I've learned so much from, that's so enriching. And so to me, of course, being the millionaire flying around like you do would be nice, but for me, this is very important. The community that I belong to, and the collaboration and the opportunity that people want to listen. And so there's 4 other pillars besides the finance. So do you want to also grow personally? So those questions and asking to help them think bigger, and the personal growth.
So what you're saying, if I can paraphrase, is you're saying cut to the chase, which is the core values of a network marketing business, what it takes to succeed in that. If you can establish what it takes to succeed, if you were to say, have you ever profiled people who are successful in network marketing? Because it would be like saying, oh, I don't like real estate, because you've associated yourself with people who are very unsuccessful in real estate. Is that a black mark on real estate? Or is that just you've hung out with people who have not really done much with it? So we could talk about pretty much any industry. But if you were to profile people who are successful in network marketing, what do you think it's like to be living like them? And one of the things that I like is to have some tools. The 4-year career for women, for instance, or the 4-year career, the original, this is a really great tool, because I can easily say to somebody, we're talking about your future here. We're talking about the difference between how the rest of your life is going to go right now. You may not see the significance of that, but I know. And I'm going to ask you to do something. Spend the next 30 minutes and read the first 3 chapters of this book. If after that you still feel the way you do, we won't have this discussion anymore, because you will have qualified yourself as somebody I shouldn't be working with. However, if this does create an opening in your mind and you see the possibility, then we'll resume this conversation. So I can lean on a tool to deal with the network marketing objection. Of course, an ABC would probably end up resulting in something like that too. Social proof of some kind results in that. But I think the thing that I like to point out, or the thing I want to point out, is if someone has a network marketing objection, it's a perception. It's not a reality. But as the saying goes, perception is reality. So we have to help them shift their perception. And the only way to do that is to, first of all, find out what is their real perception, and then compare that, contrast that to what you know. What are the values? What does a success story look like? Are these people under the wrong impression? Maybe it's justifiable. Okay, let's move on to something else. So we've got 5 objections, network marketing being one. By the way, I kind of like telling people, if it wasn't network marketing, what are your chances? If it wasn't this, what are your chances that you'd get into an opportunity where the least amount of time, money, and effort can compound into something that could take care of your retirement? Seriously? If you were to be honest with yourself, if it wasn't network marketing, what are your chances? So that's another way of being straight up and honest. So let's get over that, because there's a lot of people in your boat, and we can help those people too. Suzanne, you have a comment?
I was just going to say, I think the key is posture.
Very good.
To be in the right posture when you're going to have an objection. I remember listening years ago, an objection is only a question in disguise. right? So they're really wondering if network marketing was good, or if time was not an issue, then something else. So it's just posturing yourself, and knowing that what you have is worthy of their time, money, contacts.
Yeah, let's get further into that. Another good book, Go Pro by Eric Worre. He'll get into that, the idea of posture, the idea of, I know how you feel. I felt that way too. Here's what I found since learning about Nikken. So the Feel, Felt, Found, Listening for Success, an excellent book. Thanks for reminding me. I'm going to have to add that one to my list. Sorry if I'm going to take a note here. I'm working on a getting started scenario. Listening for Success. That's by Carol something. Listening for Success. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's let's see with Steve Shapiro. Okay. Let's get to another one. So there's network marketing. The other one was time, money, contacts. What was the other one? Oh, sales. I'm not a salesperson, right? Okay, so what's your answer to that one? Why would somebody say I'm not a salesperson in the first place? I had that one recently, by the way. Anyone?
Because they've been hounded by a salesperson and they identify with that salesperson that didn't operate in integrity. They weren't looking out for the customer's wants. They were projecting their need for the customer to buy onto the customer, and the customer wanted no part of it.
Okay, so that's probably what it is. How do we get around that? How do we deal with that? Again, it's a perception, and they're perceiving something about how we're coming across, or maybe just they're looking at this and saying, oh, this involves the sale of a product, therefore it's a sales position. How do you deal with that? Anyone?
Mike?
Yes, Linda?
Hi. This is what I've used in the past. I haven't been using it lately, but I'm going to use it again. And it works real well. When they say, oh, I'm not a salesperson, I say, that's great, because I'm not a salesperson either.
Okay.
And it puts a question mark, because they're not expecting that. They're expecting to run around and going in circles. I don't sell either. Well, what do you do? And then what I do is, in fact, I'm creating a new one now. I send a little survey. I'm an HR person from back in the day. I worked in aerospace for years. And I use a little HR thing. And what I do is I create a little survey. And I say, give me your phone number. And do you accept texts? And they'll usually say yes. I will send you 5 or 6 questions. I'd like you to fill those out for me, because my time is valuable and I don't want to waste yours either. And you send that back to me in the next 12 to 24 hours, and we can take it from there. And now it shows an urgency that you don't just do this with anyone, and you're basically you're vetting people.
Good.
So HR tactic. Yeah.
Very, very good. That's under posture, category of posturing. Do I need this person? Do I come across as needy, or do I come across as somebody who is pre-qualified or screening people who I'm about to partner with? Which is why I don't offer a partnership opportunity to somebody I meet just then and there. I never do that. I will get their name and number and the things that I need to know about them, and I'll contact them at a later date, because I don't want them to think that I do this with everyone all the time. That lessens their significance in my eyes and their eyes. So yeah, I think that's an important one. Anyone else?
Maybe share that with Mike, or share it with you so you could put it up for us?
You bet. So Linda, if you've got your questions that you would ask, fire it my way and I'll share that. Or you can even.
I sure will.
Okay, great. So the question is I'm not a salesperson. So again, I would refer to maybe one of the books that we talked about. My personal answer to that question is, what do you mean you're not a salesperson? What is it that you're really saying? I want to know what that label means to them, because until I understand what they're identifying it with, I can't overcome the objection, because I don't really know what it is. Because at the end of the day, what is the truth? The truth is, In fact, I said to this person, I said, "Are you married?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you did a good sales job on somebody." So, well, yeah, but that's, so I broke the ice with that. But now I can get to the real question. What is the underlying truth? What is it they have an objection to? So you're either selling your time and somebody's making somebody's making money on it, or you won't have a job. And you're selling your time for what they think it's worth, not what it's necessarily worth. And you've got to convey to them, you've got to convince them that you're worth keeping on some level. You are, in fact, in sales. You're just not admitting it to yourself. So when you're ready to admit the truth to yourself, then you'll be ready to make yourself earn more money. Which one comes first? Which one's more important to you? Convincing yourself you're not in sales, or convincing yourself that you're worth more. So
Mike, would you use the example we used to use years ago, and it may still be prevalent, is when you're talking about sales, just say to them, have you ever recommended a movie to somebody or a restaurant?
Do you consider that sales? Would you consider that sales? They'll say, well, not really. If the restaurant turned around and said, thank you very much, this person came and spent a whole bunch of money and we want to give you a congratulations, no, come and get a $10 discount on your next meal, would you still say you're not in sales? So that you can make an analogy. That's good. There's ways around it, but I think the elixir is communication. At the end of the day, it comes down to really communicating, an interactive, not a jarring match, or sparring match, but an interactive. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Time, money, contacts. I think the money part we talked about at the beginning. Why would somebody not invest the money? Because they haven't seen how the money becomes money, how it becomes a return on investment.
They haven't seen the value.
They haven't seen the value. So how would they be? What is it in our process that we somehow missed in the information process where they haven't seen a return on investment? Now, I'm not tracking all of your formulas for your presentation, but I think it's really important that we have a look at what are you doing to show people a return on investment. And I'm not talking about hand waving. I'm talking about on paper. So one of the things that we have is the thing called the compensation plan. Are you actually pulling that thing out and showing people how the compensation plan works? This is one of my critical tools in the process. This is one of the tools that I use in that conversation, because I need to have this in front of me to show them our compensation plan, how that works. Then what I want to show them is the business plan that turns this compensation plan into an income. And for that, I'm using the slide, the slide in the PowerPoint, the most recent PowerPoint, the triple P slide, where you see Nikan and you see those rings. Kurt Foley likes to call it the three-dimensional slide. I guess it looks 3D from above. Anyway, those rings where it shows these are the people I'm sponsoring, people, lives we're changing, who are involved in the business. The 5 wellness homes, each of them are creating, and the profit that generates based on that wellness home having a beginning and no end. That's a very lucrative business model where we can show someone how they can make anywhere from $500 to $40,000 a month following this straightforward plan of Teach 3 to Reach 3. So when we look at that and we compare, this compensation plan translates into this. Now, which one do you think is going to be easier for them to follow? The comp plan or the business plan? I think you'll agree it's a lot easier to follow the business plan. Because what does a rank mean to anybody? Nothing. It doesn't really mean anything. It's the potential to earn. But if you don't show them a business plan where the kernel of an idea, the seed of an idea, the core inner circle, those 3 people that you sponsor, partner with, and the 5 wellness homes you create, when duplicated after a number of generations, becomes a very, very lucrative cash flow scenario. So that is what needs to be shown. And showing them that helps them understand the relationship of their business, the income, and why the investment is worth making. And so if you're having that as an objection, ask yourself, what did I miss in showing them the return on investment? Okay? Of course, value where the product is concerned for a consumer is the same thing. If it's a customer we're talking about, which is not the context of this dialogue, but if it was a customer, again, it comes down to value. Are you really showing them? What is something worth? It's only worth what someone's willing to pay for it, and that comes down to value. What is it that they consider valuable? What do they value? Okay, so time, money, contact. So time, money, contact. We did the money. Let's talk about time. Why would somebody not invest the time? What would be the objection to I don't have the time, or why they wouldn't invest the time, even if they joined? Anyone?
Value again. They don't see the value of what that time putting in. They don't understand compound and leveraging.
Thank you. They don't understand compound and leveraging. Now, do you think that's surprising? It really shouldn't be. Where did they learn it?
And it's also coupled with getting something for nothing, because that has grown exponentially in the last 20 years and 50 years as well.
Instant gratification. So there's no sense of delayed gratification. We're all into instant gratification and no comprehension of compounding. Those are the key reasons why somebody doesn't understand the value of their time. Ruth, I see you were about to say something.
I was thinking about when people tell me I don't have the time, I said that's more the reason why you should do this business, because I will work 2 hours I didn't say that right. I will work 5 hours a week, and I have 5 other people that work 5 hours a week, and I get paid for 30 hours when I only invested 5. So the payback is so much greater when you don't have the time. That's when you really do need to leverage, just like what Suzanne said.
Perfect. So an illustration would help too, right? So sort of what's used in the for your career book is an illustration. Let's say you had 10 hours a week. Now, I know in the busiest of schedules, we can carve out 10 hours. Let's say you had 10 hours to apply, and that's it. And with those 10 hours, you were able to achieve a minimalistic amount of activity in weekend. But part of that activity included duplicating. And you found 3 other people who would do the same, who found 3 other people doing exactly what you're doing over the course of the next year. Let's span this out a few generations. Your 10 hours are now compounded into 100 plus hours.
Mike, what I have them do is go to their iPhone and put the calculator on there and multiply the 3 times 3. And then I do a scenario of $100 like you have on that slide, the 3D slide, and then $500, which is what this business plan says we're supposed to have. And at the 3rd level and at the 6th level, the eyes they don't want to believe it. And then multiply the 6%. And I even do 60% of whatever that total is, because the CV. Yeah, I take, well, then whatever that big number is, let's take 60% of that and then take 6% of that. That has been a real attention getter where they're doing it, not me.
So good. So you're taking that schematic, that business plan idea, and actually drawing it out, showing them how generation after generation that comes alive turns into something, especially how the time becomes a multiple. This isn't. It seems so rudimentary that we would even have to do that, but it's something we have to do. I think if you're getting the objection, there's something missing in the information that they're not seeing. So it comes back down to, did I really show them the value of time? Are they really putting a proper measure of the value of those measly 10 hours a week that they're probably wasting doing nothing important, meaningless? So we at least have some meaning in what we're doing, some purpose in what we're doing. Even if it was 10 hours of charity work, it's better than 10 hours wasted. But it's more than that. It's informing people, it's compounding, it's leveraging, and that adds up. So I think that's really important. If we're not showing people the value of their time, the value of their money in the compounding equation, they're going to only see it through the lens of somebody who's trading time for money every day. That's how they see the world. They have not yet had the aha moment with the eyes getting starry-eyed. Because you'll know if you got their attention when they start going, what? When they start questioning whether this is possible. Even the penny doubling example is a good one. If you took a penny and doubled it and you just asked them, I'll give you $1 million today or a penny doubled for the next 30 days every day, which would you take? And you walk them through that. It's something that people are not being given as an education. So don't make the assumption that because it's old hat to you, that they know this. I assume the opposite. They don't know this, because if they did, why would they settle for trading time for money? Yes, Suzanne.
Several times I've spoken at this college class. This professor does marketing, and actually he's texted me and he wants me to come in again. And every time, one of the things I share with his class is the penny double example. And there you've got a group of kids who have no idea, and they always choose the wrong answer. And then I bring it up, like the first week, and then I bring up the second week, and then I kind of keep them on the edge of their seat, and they're blown away every single time.
There you go. Just takes that little aha moment where it's the seed of an idea that can fester in someone's consciousness when they're going to sleep at night. I don't know what it was for you, when it was for you that you had that sleepless night, but I'm sure every one of us had that sleepless night where we could see our future change because of this incredible, I think it was Einstein who referred to it as the eighth wonder of the world, compounding. Okay, one last point.
It was the fact I didn't have a sleepless night that got me excited. I was sleeping for the first time without an orchestra in the bedroom.
All right, last point. So we got time, we got the money, contacts. Why would somebody not have 100 names list prepared in 24 hours or less? Why? Why would we have to pull teeth to have people come up with some kind of a contact list? Why would there be a resistance to that? Or somebody who's looking at this who says, oh, I don't know anybody. Why? What are they saying, really?
It's a trust factor.
Lack of confidence.
A trust factor, go on.
They have to believe before they enter, before they involve family, friends, neighbors. They have to know what they're into first themselves.
So let me ask you something.
Trust what you're showing them, then they're not going to want to give other names out.
So if they themselves have not made a committed decision, by way of investing their time, money, and contacts, do you think they would be wise to contact anyone?
No.
What will they duplicate?
Nothing.
No, they'll duplicate something. Doubt.
Rejection.
Yes, that's
They'll raise the objections themselves because it's in their consciousness, and they will therefore create the objection in the other person to mirror their consciousness.
You reproduce what you already are. That's correct.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you wise to work with someone who has not made the commitment?
This is why I do the survey. Because it's where the rubber meets the road. Everything sounds great and exciting initially. You meet someone and you're talking, but it comes down to, do they have the mindset? A lot of people don't have the mindset for what we're doing. They like the idea of it in theory, but when it comes down to doing, it's like anything else in life. We want the big house, but we don't want to work to get the big house. We just want to move into the big house. So it really shows where people's mouth can maybe precede what they're willing to do.
Okay. I find also one of the resistance is they're not willing to put their reputation on the line. So their contact list, again, it stems from trust. They don't trust the situation. They don't trust themselves. So they're not willing to put their reputation on the line. And of course, if they don't do that, what are they going to duplicate? So how do we overcome that?
Maybe they're just a customer. They're not that's as far as this will go right now.
That's always a possibility.
Yeah. What is their sleep like? Are you hurting somewhere? And just start from the customer place. I wouldn't walk away. They're just not. They're not a partner right now.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. They're not in launch mode right now.
Yeah.
Sit with them with their list and ask who the best one is and help make the phone call with them and do that ABC. Sort them out.
So Madeline, I like that. I like the idea then. Let me help them find, Linda, I'm just going to mute you for a second here, or there's a feedback coming from somewhere. Okay, that's stopped. I'm going to ask them for the person who, based on what they've seen thus far, if there was one person they would most see as a tremendous value and asset to their business, who would that be? And help them make that thing happen. Help them contact that person. Get that process started with that person. In other words, I'm going to taproot, get started in their warm market. Because if I can do at least that one time, 2 times, they're going to experience whatever doubts they may have are going to come up. But I'm going to be right there, and I'm going to be right there with somebody who's probably qualified, because I've helped them pre-qualify that person to deal with that. So it's not going to go bad. It could probably result in either another referral or a sale, in which case we will have a result, a positive result. So I think it's critical that we help somebody overcome that initial fear of their warm market. I can say that because I've experienced this time and time again. I'm sure you have as well. You know, they know the world, but they're not talking to the world. There's no sense of urgency. And there's no sense of urgency because something is holding them back. If they really believed in their heart, nothing would hold them back. So my experience has been a product experience is one of the things that can overcome that initial fear. A tremendous product experience that helps them simply just become very overt about NECAN. Or we've helped them find someone who believes this is not a bad idea along with them. We've helped them find a sidekick. And with that sidekick, all of a sudden now it's the dynamic duo, and now they got the world to conquer. And it changes the dynamics of the situation. Now it gets real. Now it gets serious. So keep that in mind. Those 2 formulas, those 2 levers that you have to help the gateway into someone's warm market list. A fantastic product experience, or help them find that first person. Help them get through that first contact, that first process, so that they now know there's nothing to fear, and that their reputation is not being harmed, and that there's real value that they're bringing to the situation. If you can get through that, then they'll open up their warm market to you. Anyone else?
Well, I'd just like to add to that. There's quite a few of us on here that have been around a little while and that did have leader partners, sidekicks, and they're not there. And that self-confidence and that posturing that has been a challenge for us as well. I'll speak for me. So finding that new sidekick and attracting that sidekick and being willing to go to that chicken list with that new posturing as well. Kind of person that we really want to attract while we're still helping the world.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so I think what we've covered then is, at the end of the day, what we're looking for in a partner is somebody who's prepared to commit. And a commitment is represented by an investment that's objective and measurable. Time, money, contacts. If they're prepared to make that commitment, they can go into a launch. If there's hesitation, if they got 1 foot on the brakes and 1 foot on the gas, then you know something is amiss in those 3 things. Either they didn't invest the time, they haven't set that time aside, they're not prepared to really fully invest because they don't understand the return. They haven't put the money in because, again, they don't really value the return, the compounding effect. And number 3 is their contacts because they're fearful that they're going to be embarrassed. So how we can overcome some of those things are what we talked about today. And these are all gateways into the $1 million list. This is the key, my friends. This is it right here. If you can tap into somebody's warm market and help them tap into the next person's warm market, it is an endless supply of contacts that will take you and help you build a business. Let's say, in a worst case scenario, let's just say, 3 out of those 100 names are going to go ballistic in NECANN. 3 in 100. That's it. No better than that. Let's say I don't care who you are, you're just not going to do any better than that. Is it still worth it? As a matter of fact, if you do the math, you'll realize it really is. Now, but what does it take to get through those 100? What does it take to get them going, to get them started, to get them vested, to get them, and really give those 100 a real good chance, a real best chance at seeing the value of NECANN? I want to have all 100 get the best chance at seeing this, not the last 3. So we want to get somebody started. We want to help initiate them in this exercise. That's why we call it a launch. And so imagine if they got through those 100 names inside of 20 or 30 days. Tops. I'm talking about that's really taking it slow. What would it take to get somebody to put that many names through the process inside of a month? It would take a committed decision. What's it going to take to get a committed decision? Enough information where they understand the value, their investment of time, money, and contacts, their ROI on time, money, and contacts. So I think it's really important that when you are at that very humbling conversation with somebody where it really comes down to the brass tacks, if you want it, you got to really want it. Because the lifestyle that this promises is not for the wannabes. It really isn't. It's for those who are prepared to commit for the next 3 to 5 years, what most people aren't willing to do so they can live the rest of their life the way most people only dream of living. If it was this easy and this available, more people would have it. The good news is it is available. It's not easy, but it's worthwhile. And that's where you have to decide whether you're going to take the easy path to nowhere or the road less traveled to somewhere. And that's our job as their guides. We're just there to guide them on this road that we're a little further down than they are. So hopefully you'll find this useful for your newbies. Share this video. I'm going to call it Objections. What objections? So have yourselves a great week, guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Mike, before you go.
Yes.
I'd like to verify your email. Are you still at Good Vibes at CaribSurf.com?
You got it, at CaribSurf.com.
All righty.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Night.